This is the B-2 Spirit, the most powerful stealth bomber ever built. It can take off from Missouri, strike any target on Earth, and return before most people finish their morning coffee. But while the strike makes the headlines, what happens before that strike is a story almost nobody tells. Before this $2 billion aircraft leaves the ground, thousands of individual steps have to be completed without a single error. Miss one, and the most expensive bomber in history never reaches its target. Today we are going inside that process. From weapons assembly to weapons release. Every critical step. Everything that has to go right. It starts inside the 509th Munition Squadron's assembly facility. The moment you walk in, you notice something. The air is different. Climate controlled. Locked at exactly 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Not for the technicians, for the weapons. Inside each guidance kit are ring laser gyroscopes so sensitive that a temperature swing of just a few degrees causes them to drift off calibration. A drifted gyro means a missed target, so the building stays at 68 degrees, non-negotiable. Technicians attach the MAU-169 guidance section to the front of each weapon. Inside sits a GPS antenna no bigger than a hockey puck, an inertial measurement unit with accelerometers that detect movements smaller than the width of a human hair, and a control module that translates aircraft targeting data into fin commands. Then comes the tail kit. Fins independently driven by electric motors adjusting position in increments of 1/10 of a degree. Technicians run every fin through its full movement range before the weapon leaves the building. A fin that binds for half a second during descent means a miss of 100 feet or more. Each finished weapon gets weighed because the mission computer needs exact ballistic numbers. 5 pounds off changes the timing calculations. Throughout all of this, the weapon remains completely safe. The fuse is unpowered. The thermal battery that arms it will not activate until it senses the G-forces of being ejected from an aircraft at altitude. Until that moment, this is a very expensive, very precise lawn dart. Weapons are signed off and loaded onto climate-controlled transport trailers. Same 68 degrees as the building. Even a short drive across a cold flight line in winter is enough to affect the laser gyros. But the weapons don't go near the aircraft yet, not until the bomber itself is ready. Out on the flight line, the maintainers face an enemy that has nothing to do with the mission target. Their enemy is physics. The B-2's stealth is not magic. It is a precise manipulation of electromagnetic energy. And it only works if the aircraft's surface is absolutely perfect. The B-2 is coated in radar-absorbent material containing millions of tiny iron spheres. When radar waves hit this surface, those spheres vibrate, converting electromagnetic energy into heat instead of reflecting it back. The aircraft swallows the radar signal. The problem is the coating is fragile, about as durable as a chalkboard. Even heavy rain can damage it. Damage means reflection. Reflection means visibility. These technicians examine every inch of the surface by hand. Leading edges where radar waves hit first get special attention. Panel seams, filled with conductive tape, have to sit perfectly flush. A gap the width of a credit card increases the radar signature enough to make the aircraft visible on an enemy radar screen. When they find problems, and they always find problems, they sand the damaged area with precision tools, mix radar-absorbent compounds with a working time measured in minutes, and cure it at exactly the right temperature. Too hot and it bubbles. Too cold and it doesn't bond. The final surface cannot vary by more than the thickness of a few sheets of paper across any foot-long span. This is why B-2 maintenance takes so long. You are not fixing an airplane. You are sculpting one. Once the aircraft passes all checks, weapons loaders roll the JDAMs into position. Each weapon sits on a hydraulic lift that raises it into the bomb bay. Unlike every other bomber in the U.S. inventory, the B-2 cannot carry anything externally. No wing pylons, no external hardpoints. Everything goes inside or it does not go at all. Inside the bay sits the rotary launcher, a revolver cylinder scaled up to hold bombs. 8 positions each holding a 2,000-pound weapon. The entire assembly rotates 360 degrees in under 3 seconds, spinning 8 tons of high explosive fast enough to make the whole aircraft vibrate. The suspension hooks are rated to 14,000 pounds each for a 2,000-pound bomb. At 2 Gs, that bomb effectively weighs 4,000 pounds. Those overbuilt hooks make sense very quickly. The mechanical interface has to align within the width of a penny. Miss that tolerance and the weapon never receives targeting data. It falls like an unguided gravity bomb, missing by miles. Critically, the coordinates are not loaded into the bomb on the ground. The weapon does not know where it is going. That information stays locked in the aircraft's mission computer until seconds before release. This means targets can be changed in flight, adapting to battlefield conditions in real time. Even fully loaded, the weapons remain completely inert. The design philosophy is deliberate. Keep the weapon as dumb as possible until the absolute last moment. At the runway, throttles forward. 4 engines produce 69,200 pounds of thrust against 336,500 pounds of aircraft. The nose wheel lifts first, then the wing generates enough lift, and this enormous flat aircraft breaks free from the ground. At altitude, the flight control computers make 1,000 micro-corrections every second to keep this tailless aircraft stable. Without those computers working continuously, the B-2 departs controlled flight in seconds. They are not a convenience. They are structural. As the aircraft approaches the target, the crew begins the weapons checklist. The rotary launcher rotates the chosen weapon to the release position. The bay doors stay closed. Opening them too early lights up every radar screen for miles. The doors open only when the release sequence begins. The sudden change in airflow causes the aircraft to pitch. The flight computers compensate before the pilots feel it. Now, the weapon wakes up. Through the umbilical, the mission computer floods the bomb with data in a single burst. GPS coordinates to 10 decimal places, wind speed at multiple altitudes, barometric pressure, time to impact, planned angle of attack. The weapon's computer processes all of this in milliseconds. Fins, operational. GPS, acquiring satellites. Inertial navigation, aligned. Battery, ready. Everything verified in the space between heartbeats. The suspension hooks open. Pneumatic ejectors fire, pushing the bomb clear at 4 feet per second. Fast enough to clear the aircraft, slow enough to remain stable. The instant the umbilical disconnects, the weapon transforms. The thermal battery ignites. The fuse begins its arming sequence. The fins deploy. GPS locks onto satellites. 4, then 6, then 8. The mission computer calculates the optimal flight path. Not a straight line, but a continuous curve accounting for wind, air density, and the Earth's rotation. If GPS is jammed, the inertial system takes over. 30 meters accuracy instead of 10. Still effective against any fixed target. Corrections come faster as the weapon descends. In the final 10 seconds, the fins adjust hundreds of times. Movements so small they look like vibration. The radar altimeter activates in the last moments. One final correction in the last fraction of a second. And then it hits. Somewhere in Missouri, a maintenance crew is already preparing the next one. This is what it takes to put one bomb on one target. Not a button press, not an algorithm. Thousands of human decisions, thousands of precision checks, and one aircraft that has to be perfect before it ever leaves the ground.